You know, over the years, I've heard a lot of older men say something like this. Doc, I've just accepted that my sex life is behind me. That's what happens when you get older, right? And every time I hear it, I can't help but smile gently and shake my head. Because what most men don't realize is that giving up on intimacy, or even just losing that part of connection, can quietly affect more than just your mood. It can touch nearly every system in your body and even change how you feel about life itself. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Nolan Easton, a urologist with over 30 years of experience helping men stay healthy, active, and confident, especially through their 60s, 70s, and beyond. And in today's talk, I want to open up about the real effects of no sex as you age. Not just the physical changes, but the emotional, mental, and even social shifts that often go unnoticed. Let me start with a story about one of my longtime patients. I'll call him Ronald. He's 68, widowed for about 5 years when we first met. When he came in, he said, "Doc, I'm doing fine, no big issues. I just don't have much interest anymore, and honestly, it's probably for the best." He said it with a chuckle, but there was something in his tone, a kind of quiet resignation. We talked for a while, and I asked him a simple question. When was the last time you felt really close to someone? He thought for a long moment and said, maybe a decade ago. What many men like Ronald don't realize is that sexual activity, or even the feeling of sexual connection, plays a major role in maintaining vitality. It's not about performance or frequency. It's about the hormones, circulation, and emotional chemistry that come alive through intimacy. When that disappears, slowly, so do other things, like motivation, energy, and a sense of purpose. You see, as we age, the body naturally produces less testosterone, and blood flow to vital organs, yes, including the penis, starts to decline. But sexual activity actually helps keep those systems running. It keeps blood moving, it signals the brain to release endorphins and oxytocin, hormones that fight depression and loneliness, and it maintains tissue elasticity and responsiveness in ways that simple exercise can't fully replace. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to be sexually active in the traditional sense. Intimacy can take many forms: touch, closeness, affection, or simply the feeling of being desired. The key point is that when intimacy fades completely, the brain and body begin to adapt to that absence, and over time it can lead to subtle but powerful effects: lower mood, weaker immune function, more fatigue, and even faster muscle loss. Ronald told me he'd been feeling tired for months. He'd stopped going out with friends. His sleep wasn't as deep. When we ran some basic tests, everything looked okay on paper, but his testosterone was on the low end and his stress hormone cortisol was running high. It wasn't disease, it was disconnection. And once we addressed that root cause, his energy slowly returned. Before I continue, if this message already hits home for you, if you've ever felt that quiet loneliness, or just wondered if it's too late for you, then take a second to tap that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss what comes next. And please, leave a simple yes or no in the comments below if this message speaks to you. I do read those personally, and it helps me tailor these conversations to what you truly need. Now, back to Ronald. We worked together for several months, not to push him into dating or force him into anything, but to help him rediscover his sense of touch, comfort, and self-worth. He started taking walks again. He joined a small group for widowed seniors, and little by little, he began to notice something remarkable. His energy returned, his blood pressure stabilized, and he even started waking up with more vitality. When he came in one morning, he said, "Doc, I don't know what you did, but I feel alive again." That's the moment I knew he understood what so many men forget. Sexual health is not just about sex. It's about connection, circulation, and life force. When we abandon it, we often abandon part of what makes us feel human. So, if you've ever told yourself, "It's fine, I'm past that stage," I want you to remember Ronald's story, because your body doesn't just stop needing intimacy, it simply adapts to its absence. And that adaptation can quietly shape your future health. When Ronald and I continued working together, I noticed something fascinating. As his sense of connection slowly returned, first through small steps like gentle touch, shared laughter, even just talking to others, his whole physiology began to shift.
You could see it in his posture, the tone of his voice, even the brightness in his eyes. That's when I knew again something I've seen countless times over the years. The body and mind are not separate when it comes to intimacy. They speak the same language. Hi again. I'm Dr. Nolan Easton, and if you're just tuning in, we're diving deep into the real effects of no sex as you age, what truly happens inside the body, and why so many men feel like they're slowing down, when in reality, their system is just missing a kind of spark that nature built right into us. See, for most men, when intimacy fades, they assume it's a natural part of aging. But biologically speaking, that's not the full story. What actually happens is that certain feedback loops in your body start to go quiet. Your brain releases fewer dopamine and oxytocin signals. Your body produces less nitric oxide, a natural compound that keeps your blood vessels flexible and healthy. And your heart rate variability, a key measure of how well your body handles stress, begins to dip. Over time, that leads to sluggish circulation, higher blood pressure, more joint stiffness, and even memory changes. Ronald's case was a perfect example. Before he made those small changes, he told me he couldn't concentrate for long. He felt foggy, tired, unmotivated. But when intimacy, emotional and physical, slowly came back into his life, his focus returned. His energy didn't come from a pill. It came from reawakening the chemistry of connection. Now, let me be clear. Intimacy doesn't always mean intercourse. It's the feeling of being close, wanted, and emotionally alive. You can experience it through affection, laughter, or even just shared touch. The important part is that your brain interprets that closeness as life-affirming. It tells your nervous system, I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm connected. And when your brain believes that, your body responds in powerful ways. Lower stress hormones, better sleep, stronger immunity, and even improved metabolism. I once told Ronald something that surprised him. I said, sexual health is less about what happens in the bedroom and more about how you live your life outside it. The meals you eat, how much you move, whether you laugh, touch, or open up, all of it shapes your body's readiness for intimacy. When you neglect those parts, it's like shutting down an engine that was designed to run warm and steady. I remember the first time Ronald said he felt something shift. He told me, I didn't realize how much I missed being touched, just to handle my shoulder or a hug. That moment broke through years of quiet isolation. And within weeks, his test results showed subtle but real changes. Better circulation markers, healthier hormone balance, and deeper sleep cycles. You see, the absence of intimacy doesn't just make you lonely, it makes your body less efficient. If you're watching this and thinking, that sounds a lot like me, you're not alone. I talk to men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who carry that same quiet feeling of missing something they can't quite name. And if that resonates, I want to invite you right now to tap that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next few minutes of this talk. And please, let me know below with a simple yes or no. Have you ever felt that sense of emotional or physical distance that seemed to change how alive you felt? I do read those personally because they help me guide future videos around what you're truly experiencing. Now, when men stop engaging in intimacy, whether by choice, circumstance, or loss, the body begins to forget those pathways. It's almost like muscle memory. The longer it goes unused, the weaker it becomes. Your pelvic muscles, your vascular system, and even your nerve sensitivity start to decline. Not suddenly, but gradually, almost invisibly. And this can affect confidence too. I've seen men withdraw from social life, avoid eye contact, and lose their sense of purpose because that quiet connection to their vitality starts to fade. But here's the hopeful part. The body can relearn. Even at 60, 70, or even 80 years old, those same circuits are still there, waiting. When we reintroduce connection through healthy touch, communication, mindfulness, or physical intimacy, the body responds beautifully. Blood flow increases, hormones rebalance, and the sense of emotional calm returns. It's as if the lights turned back on in a room that had been dimmed for years. That's exactly what Ronald experienced. He didn't just get his energy back. He began to feel more like himself again. His words were simple but powerful. Doc, I thought this part of my life was over. Turns out it was just asleep. And that, my friends, is the truth many men never hear. Intimacy isn't about youth. It's about chemistry, connection, and care. The body doesn't forget how to live. It just needs a reason to wake up again.
When Ronald came back for his next appointment, he was smiling in a way I hadn't seen before. He said, "Doc, I didn't realize how much my body was trying to tell me. It wasn't that I didn't care about sex, it's that I stopped listening." That simple sentence summed up what I've heard from hundreds of men over the decades. The body speaks in whispers long before it shouts, and one of the quietest whispers is the change that happens when intimacy disappears from your life. I'm Dr. Nolan Easton, and today we're going a little deeper into what truly happens inside your heart, brain, and hormones when you go too long without that spark of connection. Because this isn't just about sexual performance, it's about vitality, health, and how your body and mind age together. When a man stops engaging in sexual or intimate connection, one of the first systems to shift is the endocrine system. That's your hormonal network. Testosterone levels tend to drop more quickly, which can lead to fatigue, weaker muscle tone, and even slower mental processing. But it's not just testosterone. When you're sexually active or emotionally connected, your brain releases dopamine and oxytocin, two powerful chemicals that give you pleasure, motivation, and emotional stability. Without those, your mood and energy slowly begin to dull. You might notice yourself feeling less optimistic or less curious about life, even if everything else seems fine. For Ronald, that was exactly what had happened. He didn't feel sad, but he said, "It's like I've been running on low batteries." That low battery feeling isn't imagination, it's biology. Dopamine and oxytocin keep your brain circuits sharp and active. They support learning, focus, and memory. So when those chemicals drop off, your brain literally slows down. And then there's your cardiovascular system. Many people don't realize that sexual activity is one of the most natural forms of heart exercise. It gets blood flowing, strengthens blood vessels, and releases nitric oxide, which keeps your arteries flexible. When that goes away for a long time, the arteries can stiffen faster. That doesn't just affect sexual function, it affects the heart, the brain, and circulation throughout the body. Now, this doesn't mean you have to chase activity just to keep your heart healthy. What it means is that maintaining closeness, touch, and connection, even simple physical affection, helps your cardiovascular system stay responsive. Think of it like keeping a garden watered. If you let it dry out, it takes a lot more effort to bring it back to life later. Ronald's turning point came when he started dating again. Nothing rushed, just companionship. He said, "Doc, it feels strange to care again." That emotional openness was the key. His blood pressure dropped slightly, his sleep improved, and the small spark of attraction reignited parts of his physiology that had been quiet for years. The body responded like it remembered exactly what to do. And then there's your immune system. This one surprises people. When you go long periods without intimacy, stress hormones like cortisol rise. Chronic cortisol weakens your immune defenses, raises inflammation, and can even make existing conditions worse. But regular affection, laughter, and yes, sexual connection lower cortisol dramatically. It's one of nature's simplest anti-inflammatories. So when I tell my patients that the lack of intimacy affects every part of their health, I don't mean it poetically, I mean it literally. The brain becomes less responsive, the heart less flexible, the muscles weaker, and the immune system more fragile. It's not punishment, it's simply what happens when the system isn't getting the signals it evolved to expect. Before we go further, if you're finding this information useful or even eye-opening, take a moment to tap that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you won't miss future videos that help you stay informed and healthy. And please, drop a yes or no in the comments below. Do you feel like your energy, motivation, or mood has changed as intimacy faded in your life? I read everyone, and it helps me understand what's really going on in your experiences. Now let's go back to Ronald. After several months of progress, he told me something that really stuck with me. He said, "I thought I was getting old. Turns out, I was just lonely." That statement hit hard, because loneliness can mimic aging in so many ways. It can raise your blood pressure, lower your immunity, and even shorten your lifespan. But the beautiful truth is, it's reversible. I've seen men in their 70s regain strength, joy, and purpose simply by reintroducing connection, sometimes with a partner, sometimes through community, or even through self-acceptance and physical self-care. It's about awakening the chemistry that makes you feel alive. When the body senses connection, it remembers what it's capable of. Your heart rate steadies, your brain clears, and your drive to live fully returns. And that's what Ronald found, not just better health, but a sense of meaning again. When Ronald came in for his final checkup, he looked like a different man. His posture was upright, his skin tone healthier, and the quiet heaviness in his eyes was gone. He said, "Doc, I didn't find a new love story, I just found myself again." That, to me, is the heart of what this entire conversation is about. It's not just sex we lose with age, it's often the sense of connection to our own body, to our emotions, and to the people around us. I'm Dr. Nolan Easton, and as we bring this talk to a close, I want to share something deeply important about how to reignite that spark of vitality, physically and emotionally, no matter your age or circumstance. You see, the human body doesn't stop responding to intimacy, it just forgets the rhythm for a while. But it can remember, it can adapt again. The key is to approach it with gentleness, not pressure. Many older men come to me and say, "Doc, I just don't feel like myself anymore." And the first thing I tell them is, start small. You don't need to jump back into full intimacy. Start by reconnecting with yourself first. That might mean simple self-care. Get sunlight on your skin, stretch your body, eat a meal slowly with appreciation. Look in the mirror and say, "This is me, and I'm still here." When you do, you're sending powerful messages to your nervous system that you're alive and engaged. From there, reach outward. Maybe it's a friendly conversation, a shared laugh, or even a simple touch. Each one of these activates the same neurochemical pathways that sexual connection does. When I guided Ronald through this process, we didn't start with medications or performance tricks. We started with mindfulness, nutrition, and small daily actions that reawakened his senses. And over time, something beautiful happened. His confidence returned. He told me I began flirting again, not out of need, but out of joy. That's the spark we're talking about. The life force that comes when your body feels connected, wanted, and capable again. What many men don't realize is that the body wants to stay responsive. The muscles around your pelvic floor, your blood vessels, your hormonal signals, they all crave use and attention. The more you nurture them, the better they function. Even gentle forms of intimacy, like massage, touch, or physical affection, can trigger the same benefits: better circulation, steadier mood, and healthier sleep patterns. But here's what I remind every patient, including Ronald. Intimacy isn't just physical, it's emotional, even spiritual. It's about allowing yourself to feel again, to be vulnerable, to experience closeness without fear or shame. When you reconnect on that level, the body follows. It's nature's way of rewarding openness with vitality. And if you're sitting there thinking, "That sounds nice, but I think my time has passed," please listen closely. Because I've seen men in their 80s rediscover a part of themselves they thought was gone forever. It doesn't matter if you're single, widowed, divorced, or in a long marriage. The key is to stop seeing intimacy as something that belongs to youth and start seeing it as something that belongs to life itself. So here's my simple advice. Begin where you are. If you have a partner, talk openly, without embarrassment, about what you both miss. If you're alone, explore touch and connection in gentle, self-affirming ways. The goal isn't performance, it's presence. Because when you become present, the chemistry of your body starts to shift naturally. Dopamine rises, stress hormones drop, and that low battery feeling begins to fade. Before we wrap up, if this message has spoken to you, if it's opened your eyes or heart in some way, please tap that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can keep learning with me. And leave a yes or no in the comments if this conversation resonated with you. I read everyone, and it helps me understand what's really going on in your experiences. Ronald's journey reminds us all of something timeless. Intimacy isn't about youth, it's about being alive. It's about connection, laughter, trust, and touch. And when you nurture those, you aren't just improving your sex life, you're strengthening your heart, your mind, and your will to live fully. And as we finished our last appointment, Ronald said something that made me smile. He said, "Doc, you didn't just fix me, you reminded me that I still matter." That's the gift intimacy gives us, the reminder that we matter, that we belong, and that we still have more life left to live. So wherever you are right now, whether you're feeling lonely, uncertain, or maybe just curious, remember this: your body was designed for connection, and it's never too late to reconnect. Keep your heart open, your body moving, and your spirit awake. Because aging doesn't have to mean fading, it can mean awakening in ways you never thought possible.